You know that feeling when you're dragging a conversation forward by yourself and the other person is just nodding along? They're physically standing in front of you, but they're actively searching for the first chance to escape. We often assume they're the problem, but usually we trigger this response ourselves. Instead of actually listening, our brain shifts into panic mode. We constantly rehearse our next sentence so we don't look stupid, essentially acting like we're reading lines from a script. Compare that exhausting mental loop to the last time someone made you feel genuinely heard. It's incredibly rare. They weren't planning their reply or worrying about how they looked. Instead, their attention was entirely on you. Magnetic presence relies on a specific mechanical adjustment. You have to shut down the internal rehearsal and redirect your focus entirely outward. Let's see how easily this fails. Someone asks how your week was, and you give a standard, factual reply. Pretty good, just working. You've given them absolutely nothing to work with. Within 10 seconds, they smile politely and walk away. Then you get to stand there, holding your drink, watching them effortlessly joke and laugh with someone else across the room. That isolation doesn't happen because your life is inherently boring. It happens because your default way of communicating projects absolute invisibility. You don't need a vault of wild stories or stand-up routines to hold people's attention. You simply need to dismantle the bad conversational habits that actively push them away. The first habit to fix is physical. You might be deeply interested in what's being said, but if you're standing with crossed arms and a blank face, the interaction stalls out. Your nonverbal cues are the proof that you're actually listening. Leaning in slightly, reacting with your face, and matching their emotional energy tells the other person they are safe to open up. Once the physical foundation is set, we look at how we speak. A fact reporter hits a solid wall, but a storyteller opens branching paths built on 3 structural elements: context, emotion, and internal struggle. Saying, "I bought a camera and filmed something," is just a fact. But explaining how your hands visibly shook when you hit record, wondering who you were to even try doing this, that is a story. We often think people want data about our lives. They don't. The primary currency of human connection is shared emotional experience. You can guide people toward those shared experiences using specific techniques. The first is strategic silence. When you ask someone how they are, they usually give a dismissive answer like, "I'm fine." Instead of accepting that and moving on, just pause. Wait 3 seconds. Silence is uncomfortable, and people will almost always fill that void by revealing what is actually going on. When they do open up, use validation. Don't just nod. Repeat their struggle back to them using your own words. Saying, "It sounds like you felt stuck, and that pushed you to make a change," proves you are actively comprehending their experience. Bypassing generic conversational scripts requires moving immediately from broad topics to specific details. Instead of lingering on the weather or the commute, ask what part of their current project actually excites them. A poor communicator is always waiting for their turn to speak, making the interaction entirely about themselves. A skilled communicator directs their curiosity outward to make the other person feel fascinating. You can memorize every conversational tactic in existence, but if you deploy them without one specific hidden foundation, they will completely fail. Those storytelling nodes we discussed, context, emotion, and struggle, require a database to pull from. You can't share an internal struggle if you haven't identified what your struggles actually are. This requires an authentic trust in your own value. Without that internal database, you're just a robot mimicking social cues. You will second-guess your answers, shrink the moment someone challenges you, and subconsciously apologize for your own existence because you have no internal ground to stand on. True conversational confidence is the presence of firm opinions and the ability to explain them, completely free from the fear that someone might disagree. This creates a strange paradox. To build the substance needed for magnetic connection with other people, you must first spend serious, intentional time entirely alone. Active self-interrogation requires moving past the distraction of a phone screen to identify your core values, your daily irritants, and what makes you feel alive. If you don't know your own voice in the silence, you will have nothing unique to offer in a crowded room. Real communication doesn't start with a clever opening line. It starts in the quiet, where you develop the self-knowledge required to finally have something worth saying.